Feeling overwhelmed as a newbie in project management? Don't fret. I have you covered in this video. I'm going to share with you all the essentials you need to be aware of so that you can be an excellent project manager. Before we jump into any tips, I want to bring your attention to this. If you want to ensure your projects don't struggle, then you need to understand these basics. I created this based on my years of experience and I want to pass it off to you. How can you get this? You can go to the link below under this video. Understand your marching orders. This is the absolute first thing you need to do as a newbie, actually any project manager, is understand your marching orders. So what do I mean by that? You are given the direction that you have this project and you get to run it. Yay, congratulations, that's awesome. But a lot of times that information that is given to us has not been properly vet out or is extremely high level. Don't just accept it for what it is. You need to spend some time looking at what you've been given. Hopefully it was in a document, probably it was just a conversation. So you need to capture that information and you need to start thinking about it. You need to start vetting it out. What's in, what's out? What are the milestones associated with this? You really need to get very clear on those marching orders, because if you're not, and you are semi-clear or not even clear at all, what you put into it is what you're gonna get out of it. It's kind of like garbage in, garbage out when it comes to data. You need to make sure that what you're setting up your project for is very, very clear and everyone's on that same page. Confirming expectations. Now, this is the second thing you need to do. And expectations range. So you just confirmed your marching orders, which is fantastic, or you vetted out your marching orders. Now you want to confirm those marching orders. So you need to go back to the management, senior executives, your sponsor, your steering committee, whoever gave you those marching orders, and confirm the expectations that you pulled out, that we're on the same page. That's really important. But confirming expectations just doesn't stop there. When you get your team up and running, you need to confirm expectations with them. And what do I mean by that? Hey team, how do we want to work? Do we want to be meeting every week to talk about brainstorming issues? When we are meeting, what is our expectation? All of that sort of expectation stuff you want to do at the beginning so it's very clear that everybody knows what's expected of them, particularly with updating your action plan. So definitely do that at the beginning of the meeting or when you're doing your kickoff. And other expectations as well could be around your steering committee. These are the high-level senior executives who are going to remove your roadblocks. How often are you going to meet? What do you expect from them? And even more importantly, the end user / customer / department who is receiving your project deliverable. Get really clear with what their expectations are. Make sure that what they need is actually you're addressing it and it's inside what you're doing within the project, so it ends up being the deliverable. Be confident. You're a newbie, I get it. It's a little bit nerve-wracking. Am I doing this right? Do I know what to do? All of that stuff I know is going to be popping up. Just recognize that you are going to do the best job that you can do, and that pretend. If you're not feeling good, yeah, you kind of have to fake it till you make it. So you need that confidence. That confidence becomes really important because you're not a participant on a project, you are the leader of a project. And if you want to have a successful project, your team needs to know they can count on you. And think about it if you had the reverse role. Think of your manager. Is your manager confident? If they're not confident, how do you feel about that? Do you feel confident in them? If they're not confident, do you feel confident then in the work that you're doing that is going to be looked at properly, etc.? So that's why confidence becomes so important. You may be nervous, and I get it. That's natural. That's okay. But you need to show to everyone your confidence that, look, I got this. I know I may be new, but I'm learning and I'm sharing that with you so together we can make sure that we're very successful. So you have to speak up. You have to do those things that maybe you find difficult to do, but you have to lead, and part of leading is confidence. Managing time. As a project manager, you need to be really good with your time, because you are now the funnel where everything is coming through you. And if you don't know how to manage your time, you will be burnt out and overwhelmed. That's just unfortunately the nature of the beast. So you're gonna have to get really good with understanding time management. And how do you do that? Through understanding prioritization. So you gotta understand that you can't do everything at once, and that's okay. You need to take a look and spread things out. You have to strategize what's the best way and when should I get this done. That's why we actually take a look personally at everything that we have to do and we spread things out. Now, how do you do this properly? By using the technique of prioritization. So prioritization is understanding what's urgent and important, what's important but not urgent, what is urgent but not important. Like, you really have to start distinguishing those things so you can keep things on your plate, not keep them on your plate. And then when you do decide that this is the priority, I need to focus my attention on here, time may be the factor that's driving you to do that. It could be a dependency that's driving you to do that. There's going to be multiple other things. You then have to take a step back and go, okay, of all these things that are due in this next week, what's number 1, 2, 3, and 4? Because you may have to push something out. So yes, there's some strategy around here, and that's something you have to figure out and get really good at, because you then have to direct other people too. Don't fret. It's a skill set that comes with practice. And sometimes when we do things really well, awesome, good for us, but sometimes it's when we actually make mistakes that we learn more from them. So just recognize time management, personal time management is just a skill set you need to start practicing and getting really good at. Schedule management. All right, now I'm talking about your project timeline. The nice thing is with personal time management, the tip I just talked about, a lot of that is transferable over to the project schedule. But the big call out that I want to make is not just prioritization that I talked earlier on, it's about building in buffers. This is going to be really important. Do not schedule your project without having some buffers at key points of time, because I promise you, not everything's going to come to fruition as planned. And so you need to know you have some room and movement and availability to shift things around accordingly without feeling like your end due date is going to be compromised. Because if your end due date is compromised, you then need to get approval to shift out your end due date. That has more negative ramifications for you as a newbie project manager than if you were to build in your buffers. So build in your buffers. If your team says, oh, this is going to take me a week, maybe say it's built in a week and a half. See how that looks, right? And then negotiate with other aspects within your timeline. Maybe some things are actual due dates that you know are going to be good and are going to come to fruition. But things that you're very unclear with, definitely build in that buffer. Don't make it complicated. I know you're new. I know you're trying to figure things out. So you're probably doing some research and you're going to throw everything at your project, including the kitchen sink. That's actually making it complicated and a lot more work for you, and probably some aggravation to your team members, particularly if they're seasoned and experienced team members. So I always say less is more. Now, what do I mean by less is more? I want you to focus on the practicality of the things that need to get done that really make sense, and have fewer documentation that you're expecting everyone to follow than to have every single type of documentation. Because again, if you have every single type of documentation, you're not going to be able to keep on top of it. I'd rather have you focus on core fundamental documentations for projects that are really going to be succinct and build off of each other. Now, here's what's really cool. I have Slay Project Management, a practical project management online course that has all of those documentations and the things that you need to focus on so you don't make things complicated. Centralized Project Hub. It is really important for your projects that you have a one-stop shop that people can go to in order to get all the key documentation, input their final documentations, because believe me, you don't want people working on wrong versions. Any information that is needed that the project team needs to access, even your reporting, should go into a centralized hub. This just makes everything clean. It also allows for version control, and it ensures for you a place that your team and you can go to for just communicating and understanding what they have to do next. Personally, I really like SharePoint. It allows me to not only save documents, but I can create a site that looks really kind of web-based, and it's pretty. It's pretty, so people want to come to it because the information is there. It's not just file folders. Although that is an option too if you don't have access to a SharePoint site. Delegate. As a project manager, your job is to oversee the project. All the moving pieces and puzzles, you have to take a macro view. You cannot be also executing a whole bunch of tasks. And I know some of you as newbie project managers are project managing and also being a team member by executing on tasks. You really have to evaluate that. You need to delegate. You're going to be busy monitoring progress, you're talking to senior executives, making sure that things are on track, rejigging things accordingly. You're taking a strategic, high-level role to make sure that all the moving pieces, particularly as projects get really complicated and have multiple teams and deliverables that you have to make sure it's all working. And if you're also executing tasks too, it makes it really difficult for you to do both jobs well. So learn how to delegate. Try not to take everything on your shoulders. That's why you set up your expectations, as I said in my earlier tip, at the beginning of the project. And part of that's going to be with your delegation. It really is going to save you time, energy, and effort. Communicate, and communicate. So yeah, communicate. I can't tell you how important it is as a newbie project manager to communicate. In fact, I sometimes say over communicate. And what I mean by that is not to be pecking away at people by saying the same thing over and over again that they've gotten and they've acknowledged that they've gotten. But you do want to communicate. If you know something's coming down the pike and you have to make a change to something and there's some key individuals that have to know, quickly call them, text them, email them, let them know. That has a huge impact. Some instances, you're going to want to over communicate deliverables and deadlines. Depending on if it was a large meeting that you were in and you noticed some people weren't paying attention, again, you need to ensure everyone is clear on what it is that they have to do and what was communicated either via your meeting, your emails, etc. So just put that at the top of your mind. And one of the things you want to definitely do is have a communication plan, because it's not just about those things that come in and you communicate those out. It's how do you plan on communicating just generally speaking in your project? Are you going to do your communication through a newsletter for updates? Are you going to be having meetings with certain people to get roadblock removals and approvals? Is that part of your communication plan? How do you plan to communicate with your team? Are they going to give you status updates? Not in a meeting, please don't do that, but in your WBS action plan, so you're going to communicate that way. Again, there's clarity that you need to have. So communicate and have a good solid plan around that communication. If you're getting confused with all the PM jargon, watch this next video. On that note, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to this YouTube channel, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments below.